Adelante.
¿Listo?
Sí.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cine Forum of the Spanish and Latino Department. Today, we had a wonderful movie from Uruguay, Rambleras, and we have the director, Daniela Speranza, with us. Daniel is a filmmaker and a film academic from Uruguay. She graduated from the ACTV, the Escuela de Cine from Cuba. Daniela wrote and directed two fictions and one documentary, and her works participated in important festivals in Latin America and also in the United States as well. Right now, Daniela is professor of different courses related with script writing, direction, and audiovisual language. She's part of the ECU, the Uruguayan Film School, and of the Cinemateca from Uruguay. So, Daniela, thank you very much for staying with us.
Thank you. I appreciate so much the invitation.
Well, we are grateful here. It's really a pleasure to be able to have the film director for the Q&A after screening the movie. And the first question I have is, obviously this is a very interesting take on gender and especially point of view, because obviously the movie is it has the point of view of these three female characters, feminine characters, and their worlds it seems that they intersect and they represent different generations of women and how they can bond together and keep living in front of adversity. So how did you crafted that idea, and was it difficult? Were there a lot of obstacles, especially when normally movies present more of a masculine point of view? This is a point of view of women from the women's universe.
Yes, well, I'll try to speak in English. No, the Spanish, but in the beginning, I was very among different ages. You know that woman can be an old lady, and that was part. And I also in. I mean, it wasn't anything that so analytical. And then I was writing about, and I was interested in the independence between the people, like uh, um, uh, life and beginning. But starting with the relationship between Patricia, the younger one, and Ophelia. And then I added Jacqueline to have abanico in Spanish, that fan.
Yeah, a scope. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Patricia, she's a well, she has this symbolic representation because, especially, she's always gazing at the stars, and the whole idea of well, Andromeda, right, as the representation of sacrifice. So in a way, she's always sacrificing for her love, her man, her boyfriend, and putting herself behind. Until now, it seems as if it is. She realizes that there is something else, right, and her life changes. And maybe Ophelia had something to do with that.
Yes.
And Ophelia also, because of her sense of loss, by having lost her sister and being the only one left, and And even at first, I thought she was having early stages maybe of Alzheimer's, or she was confused, but then doesn't develop, at least not obviously in the film. But yes, these women are very iconic, and they represent a big abanico, as you said, a big scope of this feminine female universe.
I think that Ophelia, even she's the older one and maybe a bit confused sometimes, I think she's the clear vision. She can see as a result of life.
Yeah.
Two that are apparently more intelligent. They are not so.
That is true.
That impacts in Patricia, and then Patricia says things to Jacqueline that never said before, no? Like she's speaking very frontalmente. Very.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, up front, yes, absolutely. And actually, I think that maybe we need a little bit of cultural explanation, maybe for a lot of people that might have seen the movie about, and I witnessed this firsthand because I was lucky enough to be in Montevideo, which is a beautiful city, and I love, but it has this unique characteristic that the city is basically facing the Rio de la Plata, which is a river, but it's an ocean. It's so wide. It's a river, but it's so wide. That's why it was originally called the Mar Dulce, right? The sweet sea, because it was so wide. But anyway, it looks almost as if you are in front of the ocean. You cannot even see the other end of the river. And it's so typical of Montevideo, and people live by that rambla, the idea of walking along the riverside, the promenade. And another thing that is typically Uruguayan is the mate, right? The green tea. So how can you sort of give us that cultural background, and why that ocean or river view, the rambla, the promenade, and the mate, which are so important in the film? I mean, if you could give us a little bit of a cultural background there.
Well,
Of course.
It's typical from South America, Argentina, Paraguay has a difference, I guess. But in Uruguay, we have you have that this is silicone, but it used to be a plant, like a pumpkin, and then you how do you call this? It's like a tea.
The mate.
El mate. Sorry, you drink it like. What we like in Uruguay is to go out and walk. Of course, with pandemia, all the sharing stuff was cut. It was very common to share a mate with friends, and because as I know, in Argentina they don't drink mate in the streets, but here it's very, very popular, and it's kind of relaxing. After studying, after working, if you live near the Rambla, go to the Rambla with a friend, and like it's a very open space, but at the same time it's like very private, and you can things about your friends. And I had that experience. I love going to the Rambla. And now I have a problem because I can drink mate very late and don't sleep. But I used to drink it. Now I'm older. I can't so much caffeine.
Absolutely. Thank you for explaining that. And actually, I'd like to open up for questions. As Kino said, we here because of the pandemic, we are socially distant, and also we gave people the opportunity to to screen the movie from home if they didn't want to come to campus. But I see that we have a big audience there and here. So if you want to ask a question or make a comment, we'll start with maybe the people that are present here, but also from home, you may also ask questions. I hope, I have to confess, this is the first time we're trying this platform, which is very good, but it might have a couple of situations, present a couple of situations that might be unexpected. So I ask for understanding in case something happened, but I believe that audience members, virtual audience members, they can just send a request for a question and they will be allowed to enter our studio and be able to ask a question. All right, but let's start with the people here. Anybody has a comment or a question? Yes, Claudia.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, first of all, I have a comment and a question. My comment is, I love the comedy part of it, like the humor. I like the humor of some of the parts where we get to laugh, and enjoy the movie. I love that part. And at the same time, it brings a lot of emotions as a woman when I kind of feel angry, when Patricia would let herself be treated that way. And I thought it was very interesting because, at the same time that we're laughing in the movie and enjoying some of the comments, it also brings some of those, feelings of why is she doing this? Leave the man. Don't you have something better? So I really like the whole part of the humor and at the same time all the emotions that it brings, as a woman when I see Patricia. So I thank you for that because I think it's a wonderful moment. Also, like you said about friendship, one of my friends is 90 years old, and a lot of people tell me, "Oh, is she like your grandma?" And I say, "No, she's not like my grandma. She's my friend." And we have great conversations and just the whole aspect of being able to be to have friendship, and have a friend be in different ages. So thank you. That was wonderful. My question is it normal? Is that the way? I don't know. How do you call the place where they live? Because it looks like they're rooms. Do you rent a room? What is that called? Vecindario? How do you call the place where they live? And what is the cultural aspect of how people live that I didn't understand if it was rooms that you rent? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, in Spanish here, call it pensión. It's a pensión, es una pensión. And you rent a room and you have access to common place, bathroom, well, after you wash, and there are all kinds of. And generally, las pensiones, they are like I wouldn't say dark places. Not people don't aspire to live in a pension. It's like you don't have just an option. It was such a thing for me how I would represent that pension, because even though the many pens are like, like dark, like you don't have room, poor, but I didn't want to insist in that, like the character, their problems, and it was kind of a, I wouldn't say pension, but pensiones where people just share rooms, and in the neighborhood where they live, the works that it, from a point of view of the space, is everything, because here in Montevideo everybody would say no, that tree, so everything is like real, and there are many pensiones, different styles. You also have the students pensiones. So I have this, like, maybe this or something like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't like to emphasize.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that here we might not have that concept. We have different concepts, but actually, a lot of students live in pensiones when they go to college in South America. Here they have their dorms, right? Um, or in New York, for example, you have a lot of people having roommates and sharing a two-room
An apartment.
apartment, and they have a lot of, yeah. So it's the same concept. But I want to say something that I don't know if it went through your mind, if it was intentional, it was just a coincidence. But there was a moment when when they share the room, and Ophelia and Patricia crosses that line and separates the two spaces. It reminded me of Kiss of the Spider Woman, El beso de la mujer araña, cuando Valentín y Molina, cuando they draw the line and says, this is my space, that's your space. And then, of course, Molina says, but I have to use the bathroom. And so, in a way, the structure was, I don't know if it was
The
intentional,
same.
but it reminded me the idea of a cell.
Yeah,
It was
I'm
not.
so surprised. In Kiss of the Spider Woman, the book, I love my author of the
Yeah.
El beso de la mujer araña, but I didn't remember that scene. But I think that thing that is this one with Clark Gable. What's the name? It's a comedy.
It happened one
Yes,
night? No.
that one. Lo que sucedió aquella
Mm-hmm.
noche. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Being a child and having at home a film encyclopedia, and there were the picture when she uses the upper part of the pajama, and because
Yes.
the upper part, but they
Mm-hmm.
put this blanket, and I forgot about, maybe that Molina's
Well,
thing was,
maybe, well, maybe it was obviously Puig would have taken it from Hollywood from the 30s because that was his source of inspiration. So
yeah.
maybe it's a full circle. Wonderful. I have a lot of questions from the chat. Uh, I guess our audience members are not able, or they, I don't know, don't want to join with camera and sound, or
It's okay.
maybe some people say they don't know how to. But anyway, I have a lot of comments, and I like to pass them to you, and so you may answer or comment on them. Jeff says he was going to ask, what are some elements that you thought were crucial to represent the culture of the Rambla? I don't know if you want to comment on
Yeah,
some
well,
crucial elements that you think.
the mate, it's mate
Uh-huh.
Rambla. It's very
Mhm.
another like not elements, but maybe characters,
Mhm.
dogs.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
the yeah, because in the
Well,
film I was very like mentioned, for example, the plant with the flower.
mhm. Yes.
The flowers, it's a plant, the gift.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
very important for me. Like they were like asked that Gustavo gives and Jacqueline has an etiqueta, a brand, and
Mhm.
that's like a proof that it wasn't bought recently. Like I was very worried, attention to, but not in the Rambla in particular.
Mhm.
I don't
Uh-huh.
know if I
Good.
answered the question.
Yes, absolutely. There is another one. Marcia says, is it common to have intergenerational friendships in Uruguay?
No, that
Uh-huh.
was like an experience. The lights went out.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
They are on a timer and I have to walk around in order to, I'm sorry. Okay.
okay. No, it's not common. It's not common. Experience, and I wanted to show it like this.
Yeah.
I have friends that maybe were like or 15 years younger because we
Mhm.
share some,
Mhm.
like you go to where you can,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not common. It's like
Uh-huh. Well,
uh, people of this age are usually like they are not in the screen. They are not, and I wanted that too. No, like it's the typical thing, the romance, but also these different things, and I thought of that, combining all that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Marcia also comments, and this is, we already mentioned that, but she says that in the Dominican Republic it's also called pension, so it's something that is probably all Latin America. Uh, Dr. Linda Gould-Levine, she is a professor emerita of our department, and she's also watching the film. And I really appreciate that she's here with us. She says, I love the metaphor of crossing La Rambla and the distance that the three women needed to cross to reach a place of regeneration. That, that's absolutely true because even the cars that are passing by make it for the obstacles, right, that Ophelia has to cross. And it seems as if that is almost the climax, right? I mean, it's the moment in which they cross into, as Dr. Levine puts it, Gul Levine puts it, a place of regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's
Thank
a
you.
very
I like the
interesting
comment. It's because La
comment.
Rambla has that. Go, I watch, look at the sea, I walk, see sunrise.
Mhm.
There are 20 kilometers of Rambla in Montevideo,
Mhm.
so it's very,
Montevideo,
very
yeah.
long.
Yes, and
And
beautiful.
I also like the idea of like it was kind of risky lowering the conflict so much as to cross the Rambla for Ophelia. That was
Mhm.
the objective. That was the, the obstacle. Like all the time she thinks of that.
Um, Erika, who says that she's not sure how to join video and audio, but that's okay. She sent us the comment. She says, I enjoyed the movie. It reminded me of the relationship between my grandma, mom, and myself. I know the women in the movie weren't related, but they form a good relationship to learn from each other and step out of their comfort zones to do what makes them happy. So
Thank you.
That's an interesting point, right? How this intergenerational connection between women, whether it's within the family, as I call the biological family, in this case is the logical family because they're not
I like
related,
that.
but they form a family.
Yes, they do.
Um, okay, and there is another comment about a hostel as a translation for pension. And yeah, it could be, or a boarding house. I think, Jeff, now, I think one of the themes we saw often were the lack of trees and Ophelia always wanting to be in the shade. That's a motif, right? I think.
Yeah.
The idea of the shade and also the idea of well, when she goes to her parents' grave and the whole communication she has with her family, with her past, that's very sweet. And I have to say, the actress did a very good job in portraying the Ophelia. I mean, the three actors were wonderful, but Ophelia is especially vulnerable, I would say, right? Uh, and in a way that is very subtle. That loneliness that she shows. Was it difficult to direct?
Well, it was such a thing because the actress that played Argentinian is Adriana Eisenberg, and since this co-production, because in Uruguay, Eisenberg, we always have to make co-productions. Well, there were two actors from Argentina that were Ofelia, Gustavo, and some technicians. But the actress is very. I knew about her because seeing her in films, and to rehearse with her like 2 days before, nothing. So little, and I could work with Ofelia, pardon, Patricia, Juanca, all the others I could, but with Gustavo and Ofelia just 2 days. And I was, I really good. And I love like when we were at the pension, the bathrooms at the pension were there were bathrooms of a pension because it was a real one that it was like made up, and again I said so you and then when he walked into Ophelia, thing like because she's tall, and that was a problem for me because I thought before the casting that Patricia would be taller and more, and it's the opposite. Ophelia, I guess they made a good job to there were like different stages, well, heights.
Wonderful. We have Xiomara, which she made it into bringing her
Perfect. Thank you.
picture and her sound. So thank you, Xiomara, and I'm sure you have a question.
I actually have more than a comment than a question. Buenas tardes a todos. As I was watching the movie, I have to agree with Erica. It also reminds me a lot of my grandma and how she was a single mother and she had to raise like her kids, but she also had to push aside many of her dreams. I also like the symbolism that I saw in the movie. One of those symbolisms was that the impossible love between Patricia and Gustavo. And I like the symbolism between the night and day, how, because it was like como un amor clandestino, he will only see her during the
Xiomara,
night.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but unfortunately, I think you're using Chrome Incognito and the system detects that and will shut you off. But
Oh, okay.
if you can still do it, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yes, I am using it. should I just move to like a regular browser instead?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh, but
Okay.
but go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So like I was saying before, I like how it kind of represented the night of impossible love. However, when he was meeting with the actual girlfriend, um, he will only see her during the day because he was proud of that girl that he was hanging out with. Besides that, I also saw that Ophelia and Jacqueline were like a different path uh, for what Patricia could have taken. Like in one way, Ophelia represented a single woman, and that's how she could have probably ended. And then Jack kind of represented how her life would have been if she was gotten married with a man. And so yeah, me of the wrote note taken poem.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I saw that very interesting. So yeah, that's one that was my input and something that I wanted to
You're talking
comment.
about Frost, right? Robert Frost.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know the poem. I'll thank you, Samara. I like your
Mhm.
comments. I like I had that idea of night guy, in the car, never on public, and
And there is
like
I
yes,
can sense, it's not explicit, but I sense a little bit of a class difference, right? Social class difference between Gustavo and Patricia. Like
yeah.
he's in a different circle, and that's why, in a way, she is the other woman because maybe he feels attracted to her, but it's impossible that they could pursue a relationship, maybe because of a class difference. That's how I read it. I don't know if it's
Yeah, it looks
intentional.
like I guess never. No one would. Maybe they would be couples. No, no. Like we can
Yeah,
like a physical relationship.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But she's what is good about the film is that Patricia is somehow in control, in power. I mean, she's deceived by him. She's not happy, but in a way, she, as we say here, she calls the shots. In a way, she's the one who decides. Maybe she wanted the whole relationship to be different, and it's a little toxic, but she's not so dependent. I mean, she's the one who moves on, and that's a happy ending. As we wrap up, because we're getting closer to the time we have to finish this program, I have two more comments. One is Vanessa. She says, "Thank you for the great movie. I enjoyed a lot. I love how they share the mate and food, something very common in Spanish-speaking countries, but not here in the United States. It was very interesting how the three women dealt with their problems." Uh, so that's her comment. And
Thank
Jess
you.
says, I agree with what everyone else is saying too about generational relationships. I made friends with a street vendor who made buñuelos in Medellin. Listening to his story really share lots of insight. That's wonderful. And Marcia, thanks so much for a great movie and great insight of intergenerational relationships and the teaching and learning that goes with. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for all those comments. And so, yes, and so as we finish this program, and I want to thank you again. But before, are there any other projects that we should be waiting to see? Another movie by Daniela Speranza.
I don't know. I'm not so sure. Maybe moving to writing. You know,
Oh, wonderful.
making a film is great. It was like the best time of my life, being on the set, directing, in the plays, all that. But all the hard work to make the financial aspect, to raise the budget, that is exhausting. And that was very hard. It took a long time, much energy, and that makes me, like,
Well, I know it's hard. It's hard, but
yes,
it's really what is beautiful about film, and writing is fantastic, but it's a very solitary type of activity.
yes.
But a film is it's a team of people working together, and so and that's lovely. For this film, was it the technical director, meaning the woman who was in front of the camera and calling the shots for at this angle, that angle, or the director with the actors and directing the artistic? What was more prominent in this film, in your experience?
Yeah,
50-50 or
I guess 50-50. In one way, I feel more comfortable in the technical aspects because I know, like, the shot, like, and there is more, like, risky in this relationship because it goes and goes back. Good relationship, and you have to, in Spanish, I would say,
Ajá, sí, claro.
and, but I felt like the work with the actors, it felt more nourishing for me, like more like, wow. Technical aspects, I like the movements or the camera. We don't have that power that has directing.
Yeah.
But it was such a challenge also.
Yes, and your vision obviously very meticulous, because even at the beginning of the movie, I mean, all forms of life and capacities were included. I mean, there were different types of abilities that were shown, even if it was in passing. But that was very important, I think, because it shows a world, the way the world is, and not necessarily a Hollywood type of world, but a world that shows that life has many possibilities and many aspects, and all that along that Rambla in Uruguay, in Montevideo, that is so beautiful, so poetic, and it was a perfect environment for this film. So I want to thank you again for your participation, and I want to thank Kino because he is the mastermind, the brain, the muscle. He's everything behind this wonderful film forum series that we have. I want to thank the audience here on campus in this first attempt to bring life back to campus. And I promoted, well, let's watch this film the way it should be, like big screen. And also I want to thank those who were at home and who join us virtually. And we are going to do this again next month, so stay tuned. But thank you, Daniela.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you. Q&A. I was very worried that I couldn't speak in English. So, and well,
the English was amazing, Daniela.
Okay. And well, I feel very the movie. I guess you got all of you got the ideas, the feelings that I wanted to share.
Oh, thank you, and thank everybody, and